It's always nice to have help because I don't have to wiggle the screen and then run around it to start it. But you realize that we're only like weeks away from the official beginning of fall. Fall. It's a pretty incredible time of the year. Just about every fall for the last 4 or 5 years, I've had a chance to go to Branson, Missouri, or Missouri, if you're from there. And you know, we don't see a lot of season in Texas. I mean, we season everything. We cover it with black pepper and cayenne pepper and everything. We season it in Texas. We don't see a lot of the 4 seasons in Texas. We see a lot of summer, like all year long we see summer. I think last year our winter was like 18 days. I mean, I rode my motorcycle pretty much every day last year. Maybe there were a couple of days that were way too rainy, like monsoon season, but for the most part, I rode it every day. Because you can in Texas. I wouldn't own one in Wisconsin, probably. But there's a season of change that happens every year. And even in Texas, the trees lose their leaves. They don't change colors much. They go from green to brown to gone. But they do lose their leaves and they fall all over your yard and you have to rake up tons and tons and tons of leaves. The grass dies, or at least goes dormant, unless you use a winter rye kind of a grass that will be green when your other grass is dormant. But things tend to slow down as the days get shorter. There's less sunshine. There's less activity outdoors and much more activity indoors. And those are the easy to see changes and transitions in life. The things of nature that are easy to observe. But what about we humans? What about you in particular? What about me? Well, this week also marks the end of basically a 2-year stint that I've been serving in a capacity where it required 40 hours of work week in the office. And there were very few days that I was out of the office, and those were days that I was busy running to a network meeting or running to a client meeting or serving some other capacity. There were a couple of personal days that I took off, but for the most part, I was in the office doing the work of a client, 40 hours a week. And there are some beautiful things in the transition of being quote unquote free again to move about, to go to network meetings. In fact, this week I've been at the Christian Media Association's annual conference called Content 17. That's what it's called this year. And this year it just happens to be in Irving, which is about 20 minutes up the road from here. So it's fairly easy for me to get to. It's a good event to be involved in. I served on one of the panels. I'm also a vendor and a sponsor of the event. And I have a lot of fun at that event because I meet people who are filmmakers and I meet people who are seasoned media professionals and network people that run television networks and that kind of stuff. So these are my people, if you will. And by that, I simply mean they have the same worldview that I do and they're involved in media like I am. So it's a great partnership. It's also a great chance to run into some people who are thinking about getting into that industry, whether it's film or television, whether they want to do short movies for the web or they want to do long form movies that you would see in the theater. This is a great place for people to get plugged in and meet some real movers and shakers, people who have done movies that if I mentioned their names, you would go like, I know that actor. In fact, you probably saw it yesterday if you watched my midday broadcast. There was a few live interviews that I did at Content 17, and one of those was a gentleman by the name of Rick Reyna. And Rick Reyna has been a stand-in for names like Al Pacino, and he talked about that. He talked about what it means to stop acting. It was a great lesson. If you haven't seen it, go back to yesterday's live stream on Facebook or YouTube, the podcast, and you can see that conversation with Rick Reyna at Content 17. There's great insights that he offered. But there are superstars like that in this audience, and then there are nobodies like me that just want to be. But in this season of change, as I move from the 40-hour work week back into being self-employed, there are a couple of challenges with that you may recognize in your own life, and especially if you're already self-employed or if you plan to be. The transition is a little bit difficult because you go from knowing how much your paycheck is going to be and on what day it's going to come to I don't know. And that's an ambiguity that's a little hard to be settled with. It's nice when you have multiple clients and you have a nice stream of income and you know what it's going to look like, or you have those online webinars and seminars, which I'm in the process of building a couple of those that I think will serve my customers very, very well. We were going to build 5 battle strategies and the 5 battle positions into one online webinar and seminar course so that people can take that with full discretion, meaning once they log in and take the course, nobody but them and I will know that they're enrolled in that course. Then we'll have the attitude hack, which is the one that we've trained all over the world, and it will be available also as an online course because there are a lot of teachers who are saying we'd like to use that in the classroom, but we can't afford to have you come out every time to teach a class. So we're trying to make that more affordable and more available in a broader stance, and the attitude hack will probably be translated into multiple languages, as will the 5 battle strategies as time goes on. So we want to make those things available. But that transition also means there's not a team anymore. I am the team. So whether we're talking about editing or content provision or content procurement, all of that is my work. But so is hunting and gathering. It's also my work to find the new clients. It's also my work to make sure the money comes in the door. It's also my work to prepare me, heart, mind, soul, and strength, to be ready to do that kind of work. If I'm going to teach, I have to be taking in content. The change of the fall season is when nature kind of pushes back for a minute and says, I need to regroup, I need to regather. I need something to die so something else can live in a different way. And I think we all need to do that at some point or other. And part of the way that I do that, it looks kind of crazy, but between now and this is kind of when the season starts for me, the convention season. Between now and the end of October, I will have the 3 days of the CMA conference, Content 17. I'll have 2 days. Actually, I believe we've moved the Washington, D.C. date. The 2 to 3 days in D.C. is now in November. So that extends the season a little bit. But we'll have 2 days in October at the Marriage Conference in Colorado. We'll have, I forgot this one, the first week of October is the Gateway Conference, which is for pastors and ministry leaders and things of that nature. And I will both serve at that one and attend as many other classes as possible, because from a ministry standpoint and a leadership standpoint, that particular conference is off the charts good. I don't think you can get that much training anywhere else other than a ministry degree. Then the Colorado Conference, then the Gathering of Eagles in Branson, Missouri, which is kind of a beautiful getaway, but it is nonstop. It is brain-feeding, deep spiritual food from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., 3 days in a row. It's an 8-hour drive up and an 8-hour drive back, and it's exhausting, enriching, but exhausting. And it means I'm out of the market for those 3 days, and so whatever income I would have generated in those 3 days has to be generated before I get there or immediately when I get back. And so I'm saying all this to say, to have your own business seems like a very freeing thing. But it's so easy if you're not careful, if you don't have a strategic plan, to waste a lot of time being busy in your business and never working on your business, or vice versa. There are a lot of people who procrastinate the completion of the things that need to be done to get their business to the next level, and they're procrastinating that completion by doing all the other things, going to the network meetings, appearing in this event, appearing at that event, being a guest at this event. And those things are good because you got to hand out those business cards. See, I am convention ready today. See all those? Convention ready. I am ready to go meet some new people. I'm ready to talk to potential clients. I'm ready to schedule some recording events where I can do video for people. I'm ready to have the conversation about coaching them on their strategic communications and their leadership for their organization, because that's what I do. That's how I generate revenue. But in the midst of doing that, it's easy to be comfortable doing that and then never doing the work. And I know some entrepreneurs who kind of struggle with that. I know some people who are much better at networking. They are actually working. But don't let the converse be true either. If you're always busy working in your business, then you'll never be feeding the hopper for the next level of business. And here's one of the curses of taking every job that comes at you. And I've been there. And it's a very tempting thing to take every little opportunity that comes at you, no matter what it pays. If it's profitable, do it. The curse of that, and let me say curse is tongue in cheek. The challenge, the strategic planning portion of that puts it in the cons, not pros column, is that when you realize that you're spending 30, 40, 50 hours a week doing little jobs that one big job would cover the total income of with the same profit level, you might realize that it's more profitable to pass up the little jobs, to position yourself for the bigger jobs, and to spend more time selling the bigger jobs rather than doing the little jobs. Now, you could put that on a P&L very easily. I could show it to you if you want to do that. Pay me for a coaching session. I'll sit down and explain it if it doesn't make sense to you. If it does make sense to you, then stop doing that. Stop taking every little thing that comes along because it looks like profit, and realize what your real value is. And I'm going to say this straight up. I don't care if you're a landscaper or a life coach. I don't care if you do leadership training or psychotherapy. If you take every tiny little project that comes along and you don't position, train, prepare, and target yourself for the larger jobs, of course, you could do 67 lawn mowings this week if you're a landscaper. Sure you could. 3 or 4 a day, all day long, right? Actually, you'd have to do 12 a day for a 7-day week to have 60 of them. But if you're going to do that much work for 20 or 30 bucks, wouldn't it be better to have 1 or 2 of those events, 1 or 2 of those clients where you show up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, maybe work till sundown, and you're landscaping around the trees and making sure that all the plants are watered and weeded and everything is cleaned out of the garden, and they're paying you $400 or $500? Wouldn't you rather do one of those than 10 or 15 at 30 bucks? You see what I'm saying? It's not different work. It may require a little more effort and energy to close the sale, but it pays much higher for that one client than it does for the 100 little clients. Now, the one place that I'll say you've got to balance that in this season of change is you need to have a good mix of the small clients and the large clients. Because I've been in that position before where you have the one large client and they change, they move in a different direction, they need to change budgets, whatever it is, and suddenly your one big paying client, they're out the door. And when that happens, it's like pulling the rug out from under yourself, because you haven't set yourself up for the success to say, I've got enough of the small gigs, enough, not too many, not all of them, I've got enough of the small gigs to have an idea what the steady income is going to be. That's kind of how you fill and prepare that hopper. But then I have a couple of the big guys as well, a couple of the big clients that pay enough that if I need to pay someone else to cover that small event or that small gig or that small project or that small job, I can delegate that and pay somebody else a portion of it so that I don't lose the client while I do the big jobs. There's the $50 jobs, and there's the $150 jobs, and there's the $1,500 jobs, and there's the $300,000 jobs. And you've heard me speak before about what happens when the opportunity comes for a big project and you're not prepared. You know what the number one reason for lack of preparedness is for entrepreneurs? I didn't have enough time. I was too busy chasing the pennies for the dollars to add up. I think Brian Flanagan said we tend to stoop down for dimes and step over dollars. Don't be stooping down for dimes and stepping over for dollars. If you're in a season of transition, whether it's you've lost your job or you're preparing to go into self-employment or you're moving from one job to the next, allow yourself the time to prepare. Allow yourself the time to learn and to grow internally. Allow yourself, like the winter seasons, the fall seasons in nature, that say, you know what, the grass is going to just lay a cool for a while. And this photosynthesis thing, we're going to put that to rest for a little bit and just nurture, just build the base, just build the foundation, grow the root system. And whatever kind of business or ministry you're in, you need a season for that too. Get to some conventions, get to some training courses, get to some extra classes, sign up for an extra class at the local college, and pour into you for a season so that you're ready, that you're prepared, that you have all your ducks in a row, ready for launch, ready to go into what could be a beautiful January. Now, all this, assuming the world doesn't end on the 23rd. I heard a guy say one time, I'm going to live every day like Jesus is coming back tomorrow, and I'm going to plan like he's not coming back for 1,000 years. I think that's wise advice. Live your life like you're ready for life to end. Live it to the fullest. Love the people around you. Be deeply invested in everything that you do. Don't do anything haphazardly or with the wrong intent. Live your life like tomorrow could be your last day. Every day. But also plan like you're going to live another 1,000 years. Why? Because if you have a plan, it's a whole lot easier to execute the day than it is to let the day execute you. I think I said this yesterday, I'm going to say it again. I've heard the phrase in the past, but it never resonated like it did 2 days ago when I heard someone say it. They said, your time, like your money, is best spent by you. But if you don't spend your time and your money wisely, someone else will spend it for you. Someone will waste your time. They'll bend your ear for hours saying nothing. They'll commiserate with you about the things that are not going right in their life. And rather than pouring into you and preparing you for next, they're going to just settle you deeper into right where you're at. Don't let the small projects keep you from being prepared for the big projects. Don't let the small tasks of work keep you from being ready for the big opportunity that's coming, because that preparation is significant. It takes a lot of preparation to be ready. You got to do the work. You got to do the work. You got to grind it out. And whether that's delegating, paying someone to do that, or it's doing it yourself, it's got to be done. That work has to be done. So get busy doing the work, but also take the time to mentally, emotionally, psychologically prepare yourself for that next big opportunity so you can stay busy at it. Seasons are changing. Life is changing. Relationships are changing. You got to be ready to move with the ebb and flow. Are you ready? Are you ready to change? Get busy networking. Get busy doing the work. Get busy being ready for the next thing. I'll see you back here next week. I'm J Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.